The Scott Ryfun Radio Show.
All right, there you go. Hey, good morning. Yeah, it's midweek is what it is. Hey, how are you? It's good to see you guys here today on your Wednesday morning. Today's the day I've got to get out of here on time. I will tell you that. I've got more meetings pertaining meaning to the position I'm going to be assuming with the county. So I'm going to have to knock it off on time. I say on time like we actually have a real stop time, but you know what I mean. I'm going to have to knock it off, 8:30ish, 8:40. We'll see. We went over 2 hours yesterday, which was crazy. I never anticipated we'd be doing these kinds of broadcasts again. When I first started this whole thing was supposed to last 20 to 30 minutes a day, and that was just it. But we have just had, it's been too much fun and been too much good interaction from everybody. And I'm glad to see everybody here this morning. In fact, let's say hi to everybody. Our Dothan Bureau Chief says good morning. Joe says good morning. Mikey says good morning. Paul gives us the big thumbs up, which, of course, we can't do anything without. Number 8 is in the house, as is Della. Go Georgia B-Dogs is giving us a happy hump day today. Looks like another warm summer day or oppressively hot. And you know what? The Glen Canny employees yesterday, let's give credit, and not just because I'm about to become one of them, but these guys were out. Actually, is that county, or is that kind of looks city public works-ish based on the logo? Let me take a look here real quick. Yeah, that's the city. Those are city public works guys. But the county guys were also doing it yesterday. So we'll give hats off to all of these guys out there working, weed whackers, everything, just going nuts in the middle of a very hot day. And if they got to wear black shirts on a hot day, not the best sartorial choice. But it's been blazing, and it's going to continue to blaze again today. So we just take our hats off to those guys for doing some seriously hard work in some serious weather conditions. All right, Butch says he's here. Good, glad to have you here, sir. 166. Karen, good morning from VE. I don't know what VE is. How are you, sir? Good to have you here. Lisa's with us. Good. VEH. Okay. We've got a good morning to Mr. Blocker from Jessup. Different cue music can't handle the change. Well, you know what happened is there are days when I'm show prepping, and I had a whole lot of it there, and I actually started the broadcast in another room, but apparently if you shut it down, it just shuts down the countdown. If you make any changes to the broadcast, I'm learning about this stuff as we go along, as you know, and it just shuts down the countdown. So I had to do a new countdown, and I didn't want to do a full 2 minutes again. And so we had a 60-second that's already built in. So I used the 60-second, but it's a little 1993 there, Good morning. Glad to have everybody here. BHA. Yeah, I saw that article. We have that BHA article, Brunswick Housing Authority article, in our prep this morning. We will get to it. Yeah, very, very, very 90s looking. I will admit. Let's see. 33 counted for tired, but here, man, I'll tell you, tired, but here we had we did trivia last night at Max, as we do on Tuesday nights, and we had 17 teams, and it wasn't 17 small, tiny, itty bitty teams. It was 17 teams, some of which were pushing the limit of what I like to call the Brady Bunch rule. I have a rule when I do trivia that the team Brady Bunch, basically there can't be more people on the team than are on the opening squares of the Brady Bunch. So that's 9 basically. And if they're little kids who aren't really playing and that kind of thing, we let that go. But there were a few teams that were pushing the limit of the Brady Bunch rule last night. So we had 17 teams at trivia last night. It was just absolutely crazy. And again, big teams. So I get it. We had a late night last night. Morning. That thing gets longer every time, I think, Brad. Every time. Dwayne says good morning. Muriel says good morning. Whatever. Let's you stop. You say that every day. I don't even know what I say. Oh, that I got to get out of here on time. No, not every day, but in this sense, I really do have to get out of here on time. See, I didn't say it yesterday. We didn't. We did over 2 hours yesterday. We will not be doing over 2 hours today. Yeah, look at that. Listen, you people. All right. Wow, there's a lot of people chiming in this morning. I'll probably try to cut some of this off. We'll try to get some more of the good morning, hello, howdies over time. Despicable Rifunians. Yes, indeed. Jesse thinks he's 164. Well, let's see. Let's look it up. Let's bring everything to a screeching halt to see if Jesse is in fact 164 or not. And maybe it may be more screechingly halted than I thought it was going to be. Yeah. One thing I've noticed about iPads, they've changed iPad OS to make it a little more Windows-like, and it's made everything a little slower. I don't know what that's all about, but it's there. So I'll check on that. Let's see. Yep. Good morning. We did have, boy, it was long yesterday, but it was a lot of fun. Lynn, I still got to come see you guys. Bobby says good morning. Chuck says good morning from Blythe Island. Fauci hearing begins at 8:30. Is it that early? Oh, we've got some Fauci things to talk about. Let's go ahead and do that, because the Fauci thing is the one that's most on my mind. Michael Brendan Doherty's got a piece today that I thought, I'm not going to give you the whole thing because it's quite lengthy, but there's some significance here. One of the things he does is kind of chastise himself for buying into all of the ridiculous hype on this thing. You know, one of the things I remember at the time from COVID was that I just remember there were a lot of people who were going to be really embarrassed in the future about how they behaved during COVID. And I feel like some of those people are still being embarrassed, but some of them, for whatever reason, aren't really being embarrassed, or they're not experiencing embarrassment. Anyway, I'm not going to read you the whole thing, but I did want to share just this little part of it. And again, remember, he was a guy who early on advocated for school closings and that kind of thing. He says, the fact is our country, and I thought this line just jumped out at me. The fact is our country, by and large, reacted as if the Constitution had been suspended. And, that line alone sold this piece to me when I saw that. And that's why I want to go ahead and start here instead of him moaning and lamenting the fact that he jumped on board the wagon at some point. But it's very true. We did. And I don't think we've, in that sense of constitutionality, I don't know that we've recovered as a country at this point. I don't know that we've really made it back to understanding our Constitution, how it works, how our country works, etc. Because what happened essentially was a bunch of people just kind of de facto declared we weren't going to do things constitutionally, and everybody just went, oh, okay. And that's scary. And again, you want a great argument for things like the Electoral College, things like the Senate, things that take away the possibility of mob rule. Go back to 2020, where we removed a lot of those protections, and we just had utter chaos. And we had, people telling us we couldn't go to church, people telling us we couldn't mourn our loved ones, people telling us we couldn't retirement homes, and it just. Anyway, let me go to this. The fact is our country, by and large, and I'm going to read this line again because it just hit me so hard. The fact is our country, by and large, reacted as if the Constitution had been suspended. Nobody was allowed to be a normal human being anymore. The idea of socially distanced funerals with people crying into medically useless surgical masks appalls me. Even more, I'm angry that many doctors who advised this would later encourage mass anti-racist protests, which quickly, and in retrospect, unsurprisingly, turned into riots. In general, I feel like one of those people who emerges from a totalitarian regime. Every day after the collapse of that tyranny, I wish I'd resisted it more, but no gesture or action or of resistance that occurs to me would have been affected or even understood at the time. And so part of me dreads that Anthony Fauci will be back where he loves to be, under the bright lights and on television cameras, for a Senate hearing today. Dr. Francis Collins has admitted to a certain myopia, and that's the extent of his public penance. But Fauci has defended himself victoriously. As our editorial points out, Fauci's given to saying things like, show me a school that I shut down and show me a factory that I shut down. Never. I never did. It's true in the most technical sense. School districts could refer to county health department guidelines, and counties could refer to the state, and the state refer to the CDC, and then the CDC would say it had no legal authority and only guidelines and pointed you back down the chain to the state health departments and so on. But the reality was, we had the clips from his diary a day or two ago, or I guess it was either Monday or yesterday, anyway, where he was explicitly saying he wanted the schools closed. Did he order it? Did he have the authority to order it? No, but he was strongly recommending it, and everybody was holding him up as the source of all of the, the fountain of wisdom and knowledge that came with COVID. Dr. Fauci is the man. He's the savior. He's the Messiah. And remember, you got to remember, again, the left loves to make messianical figures out of their guys. And largely because there's a lack of religion there. But they certainly did that with Fauci. Certainly did. Let's see. Where was I? Oh, what really governed the country until red states like Georgia and Florida paved a way out of the emergency was conventional liberal opinion. And Fauci took great pride in shaping it while privately advising elected officials all over the country to join in the lockdown jamboree. Fauci literally told the press he lies to manipulate public opinion, and the same press still hailed him as a bold truth teller. In an interview with the New York Times, he said, when polls said only about half of Americans would take a vaccine, I was saying herd immunity would take 70 to 75%. Then when newer surveys said 60% or more would take it, I thought, well, I can nudge this up a bit. So I went to 80, 85. He's literally telling you how he lied. I'm glad his self-admiring diaries are going to be read into the public record. I'm glad his unseemly obsession with profiles about him will be too. I'm glad that for a little over an hour, he will be subject to Rand Paul, another doctor. I'm glad he'll be exposed on his real views of masks, the wet market thesis, and everything else he lied about. Many of us had to live under these lies for years, marred funerals, missed holidays, kids wearing ineffective masks, and speech therapy, all while he gloried in his rising status. That's Michael Brennan Doherty in National Review today. I just thought it was again, it really spoke. It really spoke. Now, I'll say this too. The hearing does begin at 8:30 this morning. I don't know that you're going to get any blockbusters or bombshells there, sadly. All right, Tommy comes in at 75. We appreciate, and he's doing it on YouTube. I will point out again, please. We ask that you like and subscribe. We need the subscriptions on YouTube. Everything on YouTube helps us get a little bit further, a little more recognized. And we were very close yesterday, very close to 1,100, by the way. Where are we right now? We're at 1,095 subscribers. We are 5 away from 1,100. I didn't even think that was happening, but yeah, like the video so that we can, again, be seen in the algorithm. Lots of people liking it is a good thing, and subscribing is also a good thing. Morning from Helen. Beautiful day in the mountains. Good. Mr. Benson, 96. Good to see you there, sir. Yes, do not forget to hit that thumbs up if you are watching on YouTube, and we recommend you watch on YouTube, although a lot of people will be doing it on Facebook as well. I get it. Let's see. Good morning from 147. There you go. Good morning is where you find it. Wow, I have to think about that one for a little bit. 168 there. We're glad to have you there for sure. Jamie's there. We're glad to have him there. A little earlier than usual. He's chiming in. Island, by the way, the Klimps Island Dog. Great store, great people, dog friendly store, clearly. Just great people. Let's see, 167. Hello. Does that include Cousin Oliver? I don't know that Cousin Oliver ever got a square at the beginning of the Brady Bunch. I think that was pretty much just the 9 of them. So no, that's it. Morning, Robbie. And let's see, we were a team of 2. We were wholly disadvantaged. You guys did well, though. You did. It was your first time doing it. And so there were a lot of times when you came up and gave me an answer, and I went, wow, that was pretty sharp. As an Apple developer, I absolutely hate the new iPad OS. I agree with you. Yeah, they made it more Windows-like. And there are advantages to that. But one thing I've noticed is it has slowed them down massively. I have a 13-inch iPad Pro. I have the hottest, fanciest, fastest iPad there is. I always want a really, really good iPad. And even it just gets sluggish in that mode. Let's see. Made it more like Windows and slower. Isn't that redundant? Yeah, pretty much. Vicky, good morning. Good to have you here. Fauci takes the 5th on everything this morning. He might. 161 in the house. Good to have you here. 113 with us. 160 in there. We now have a sunny skies feeling of the Constitution. It's only in effect when there aren't storms on the horizon. That's a good way to put it. That's a really, really, really good way to put it. And it's kind of true that we've just kind of decided we can throw the Constitution away whenever we want. because they did in 2020. Good morning, Scott and crew. Beautiful Wednesday morning. Hope you'll. Oh, it was like hope you all have a great day. Be blessed. 149 there. Thank you, sir. Yeah, listen to this. Listen to this. My dad was locked in a nursing home without a visitor and died alone because of this fool. And that is, if that had happened just this one time with Jim, that would be a tragedy. But it happened a lot. A whole lot. Good morning. I was privileged, considered essential, never missed a beat. However, the shutdown was quite bizarre. The funny thing is we in radio, they just basically came to us and said, you're getting 2 weeks unpaid. So work that out. However you work it out. and they did, they docked us 2 weeks pay because we've got to do something to make it through this. And, so what I wound up, and they literally told us just take 2 weeks off. Which was odd because, I mean, we're on the air and we're informing people. And so what I wound up doing is as things got a little better, I looked at the calendar and I realized that basically the 10 days off, starting at with normal days off that I was already scheduling and that kind of thing, that basically starting in September, I could not work Mondays for the rest of the year and be fine. And so that's what I did. I don't know if you guys know or remember that, but in 2020, from September to the end of the year, I didn't work any Mondays. And part of that was because there were 10 Mondays that I was required to take, there were 10 days I was required to take it off, and I took them off on Mondays. They really told us, well, you got to take them in clusters. But then my boss, who again was also caught in the iHeart purge, really worked with me because I made the case to him. There's an important public safety crisis going on here. Are we really just putting our local hosts and saying just take 2 weeks off? That just seemed crazy to me. So, but we were forced, they were like, you have to take the time off or else. And so what I did, they worked with me and they let me just do it so that I could, I just literally took every Monday off for the rest of the year. And that was just kind of the way it was. But yeah, it was bizarre. Definitely bizarre. Yeah, you got an earful of it the last 2 days, that's for sure. 179, she's wearing her new number proudly. I like that. Love it. We appreciate the fact that you are watching on YouTube as well. Good morning, Emperor. On this day in 1981, Charles, Prince of Wales, married Lady Diana Spencer. St. Paul's Cathedral in London. The union produced 2 sons and several pieces of juicy gossip. But better yet. And this is where I'm going to get really self-indulgent today. But we've got a lot of stuff to cover, so I'll try not to be too self-indulgent. This is July 28th, 1977's Brunswick News. I couldn't find my copy of the ad from July 29th, which would have been today. Though I promise you I have it. I'm not sure why I was unable to locate the photo, but this is July 28th, 1977's Brunswick News. And you see right here, starts tomorrow, which is today, July 29th. 49 years ago today at the Lanier Twin Cinema. On the right-hand side, by the way, for those of you playing the home game, little movie opened up. Little movie that changed the world. That warped a generation. And is still being talked about to this day. Unfortunately, not as glowingly as it was, but it's not that movie's fault. It's what's happened lately. But yeah, this was a movie. My brother brought home a Read magazine, and I don't know if you remember Read magazine, READ. It was a Scholastic publication. It was a little 2-color thing, literally 2-color. It was white and one other, I guess maybe 1 color. I don't know how printers would refer to that. Anyway, and it had a preview of this Star Wars thing, and he showed it to me, and it was, we talked about it, and he was geeking out over it. I was geeking out over it, and we went on some, and it just wasn't there, and I kept saying, "Is Star Wars here? Is it here? Is it here? No, it's not here. Oh, it's here." And we went on vacation, and we would always go visit relatives up in at that time, I guess, Kentucky, and we went on the vacation, and one thing would happen. We'd stop at these little convenience stores, right, as you're driving, and get gas. And this is largely not a lot of interstate at the time. So you're driving, in highways through towns and that kind of thing. And you're stopping at motels with the magic fingers for a quarter beds, sitting on them and everything to to stay for the night and that kind of thing. So but we would stop at these little convenience stores, and my thing was always to beg to run in and look at the book and comic books and the magazines. Like you see me with books all around me. That is always, always, always how I have been. Even at 6 years old, that's how I was. And I remember stopping at this convenience store. I can tell you it was a red brick convenience store, and got to go in, begged to go in, and got to go in. And on the magazine rack, they had the Warren Star Wars special, Warren magazine, Famous Monsters of Filmland, Star Wars special. And I looked at it. My brother's like, "Hey, this is," and my brother was a lot of the instigator of things I did when I was a kid. You don't realize that at the time. Then you look back later and you go, "Well, he's the one that said for me to do that." He literally is like, "Hey, this has got nothing but Star Wars in it. You should tell mom and dad to get it for you." And so I begged for it, and they got it for me. And I spent the rest of the trip just poring over this magazine, pouring over it, because it was the entire cover to cover, nothing but Star Wars. And by the time we got home from the vacation, still not here. A few days later, we saw the ad in the paper. And the next day would be today, 49 years later, we went in. We got there early because mom always gets places early. And I don't know if you remember how they used to do theaters back then. They didn't have doors. There was just a big wall that you walked around. And so when you could hear things that were happening in the theater just outside the doorway, because there's no door. There's just a wall that you couldn't see the screen from in there because the wall blocked the light out. And, mom got there early, and so I said, "Okay, let's go in." And she's like, "No, you can't go in," because my parents are very, very proper people. And they're like, "You can't go in because we didn't pay to see that showing of that film." So we had to sit on the floor outside the theater and listen to the end of that movie and all the ships and the blowing up and the yelling and the screaming, everything that's going on at the end of that movie. And it just drove me nuts. And so then we finally got to go in, and things changed after that. There really is, for a lot of kids, my generation, there's before Star Wars, there's after Star Wars. And then I'll tell you the other mind-blowing thing was eventually this moved from Lanier Twin over to the Altama. It was the triple by then. When people don't remember, when Altama was built, it was first Altama Twin, and then it became a triple. But and Lanier, yes, was a 1 and then 2 and then a 5. But my dad built me that year for my birthday a treehouse. That was my birthday present from my dad. And we had to share it, I think, between my brother and me. And I think that was mostly because it was just kind of expensive, because it was a nice treehouse, great treehouse. We really became kind of probably the reason why, like everywhere I've always been, I always kind of have to have my space. I had my place. When I was a kid, I could go to my treehouse and just sit in my treehouse and be alone, be with my thoughts and that kind of thing. And now I have, the studio where I can just come in here and sit and be alone. But dad built me the treehouse, and my Uncle Mike was over, and he was helping fix the tree. And his birthday, by the way, was Monday. Would have been Monday if he were still with us. But my Uncle Mike was over. My Uncle Mike was a science fiction nut, and he had not seen Star Wars. And of course, I wouldn't shut up about Star Wars. And my Uncle Mike said to my dad, he said, "Well, you want to go?" Because they were literally over there finishing up my treehouse. And my Uncle Mike said, "You want to go see it tonight?" And my dad said, "Sure, yeah, I'll go see it," because my dad hadn't seen it. Mom took my brother and me to see it. And of course, I'm like, wow, they're going to go see Star Wars. Because one thing that happened in my house, because I had asked about this many times before, you don't go see movies twice. You don't go see a movie twice at the theater. You just go see it once, and then maybe you see it on TV sometime years down the road, but you don't go see a movie twice at the theater. And my dad, when I said, "Oh, you guys are going to see Star Wars," oh man. And my dad kind of looked and took pity on me, which is rare. My dad didn't often take pity on me, and said, "Do you want to go with us?" And I was, yes, of course. So it was the first time I realized you could actually go see a movie twice at the theater. We went to Altama that night and caught it for the second time. And Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they regretted doing it. I don't know. But it was certainly a game changer for me and for a lot of other people. Let's see. Let's jump onto the comments really quickly because I'm way behind on the comments. Everybody's chiming in wonderfully today. Yes, switching to YouTube. YouTube helps. YouTube helps. Did Eddie ever get a number? I thought we did give Eddie a number, but you know what's funny is the spreadsheet isn't loading because we were gonna. Oh, there we go. Of course, I just shut it down, restarted it, and it's fine. So the first thing we have to check is Jesse is 164. We know that. Okay. And Eddie's 171. Yes, you did get a number, Eddie. You're 171. There you go. Can you tell if you have any YouTube subscribers who were brought to you because of YouTube and not from knowing you on the radio? Just curious. No, I don't know that. I don't know. Maybe, but I don't know. Could Fauci be convicted of state crimes? It would be tough, but it could happen. It could happen. Fear does terrible things to people. It really does. And makes them absolutely just abandon everything. I can watch on YouTube on phone, but not watch on TV app. I like to put it on for mom. There you go. Okay. Look, however we get it, we get it. I'm happy. Randy, I don't know what you're talking about. You sound like the Carpenters. There you go. Let's see. Why would Fauci not take the fifth? Comey, I think you mean, has reminded him that his pardon won't help him if he lies today. That's true. I don't know. 137 dragging apparently 49 years late. You still haven't seen this thing? Oh my goodness. That's not good. That's not good. Hard to believe it's been 49 years. You know what's great too. Let me show you this. Again, you want to get the nostalgia bug going. Right here. And I don't know if you can see that. Let's blow that back up if we could. Blow it way up. There we go. So there, what you'll see, hang on, I'm going to pull up my copy of it so I can see it a little bit better. There it is. Okay. Original Star Wars t-shirt headquarters, Mr. T-shirts, Brunswick Mall. And then original soundtrack available at Sunshine Records. Now I got St. Simon's Island. That's why. Was that on Mallory? Those of you who know, local area historians, local area retail rememberers, was that on Mallory Street? Was that on St. Simon's on Mallory Street? Because I don't remember going to Sunshine Records, but I seem to remember a record shop actually right next door to where Island Dog is now. In that building where Island Dog is now, there was a record store at some point. I'm wondering if that is that or if that's something else. But Sunshine Records on St. Simon's would have meant nothing to me at that age. Because Rockin' Easy was where I went for records. Lafayette, World Hi-Fi, whatever at the time, would have been a place that I would have gone for a record. Sears and Woolworth, obviously. Gibson's I would have gone to for a record, but I would not have gone to the island to go to that record store. So I don't know. Let's see. Good morning. Yes, absolutely. Spinner racks of comics were the best. And that's funny because that's one of the things. I'm sure you have seen it, Michael Nip, but I have. The Book Exchange was one of my favorite places too. Like I said, I always surrounded myself with books, and the Book Exchange on Altama Avenue in that shopping center over there, the Glen Plaza, was one of my favorite places to go, and it was right next to Rockin' Easy. So those were two of my favorite places to go as a kid, and they had a spinner rack, and I loved going and looking at the spinner rack with the comics. When they closed down, Melissa Porter, dear, wonderful girl that I have known since first grade, she called me and she said, "Hey, today is our last day open." I knew they were going out of business. I'd been in there and threw some bucks their way to get some stuff. And it was sad to me because, again, that was such an important part of my childhood. But she called me. She said, "We still have this spinner rack for these comics. Would you be interested?" And I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "Well, tell me, what are you willing to pay for it?" And I threw out a number, which I thought was reasonable. And she thought it was reasonable. She said, "Come get it." So I did. And it sits up in the theater room. And when I first got it, I thought, what would be really neat is to put old, 70s and 80s comics in there like it would have been back in the day. And so I'd go to the, these little like the Jekyll Comic Con and stuff, and I'd go to these dealers that were selling, the little quarter boxes or 50-cent boxes or whatever they are now. Inflation killed the quarter bin. But and I'd go through there and I'd find anything that was old 70s and 80s, and I started filling up with that. And one day I just kind of said, but my real love, talking about going on those vacations, one of the great things about going on vacation was being able to go places and different convenience stores and finding the Star Wars comics that I didn't have. For those of you playing the home game, Marvel did an adaptation of the movie Star Wars, and then after that they kept going. And those stories, to a kid like me who wanted more and more and more, that was Star Wars. And it still is to me. And so that was really my thing, is collecting those old Marvel Star Wars comics. And so I said, you know what? I made a change. I said, I'm not going to just do everything in this rack anymore. I'm going to start replacing all the comics that are in here with old Marvel Star Wars comics. And that means, yes, not in a bag, not in a board, not preserved for all eternity, but sitting in a rack like they would have been in the 70s and early 80s. And so that's what I've been doing. In fact, last week we had a quick trip to Jacksonville, and I stopped in a store, and they had, I think I got 19 more for that rack. I haven't put them in the rack yet. But my plan is to fill the entire rack. And I've got enough that every side is front facing with the old Marvel Star Wars. And most of the actual racks are full of that, but there's still somewhere I've got to pull some of that stuff that's behind the front ones. But it's the old rack I used to buy comics off of when I was a kid, and it is slowly but surely becoming totally full of old Marvel Star Wars books. I love those spinner racks. They were awesome. Let's see. COVID, despite the damage done at societal level, the real damage, 4.1 trillion in new money. Yes. This is a thing I was talking about with a buddy of mine who's a cast member. We were at Disney last week. We were kind of talking politics, and we're talking about the hyperinflation of the era, and Trump bears some responsibility in that. And the reason I say that is because Biden dumped $1 trillion on the economy out of nowhere. And that really, that's what actually finally lit the fuse on the mass inflation that we had. But before that, right before that, Trump had also dumped $1 trillion on the economy out of nowhere. And so that was part of the buildup to the massive inflation that we had. But, I don't know when we teach politicians the lesson that you cannot spend your way out of a crisis, because they love to do it, because, again, it makes them sound great. Look how much money I spent on your behalf. Blockbuster. Let's see. Johnny, hi, how are you? American Mullet says a galaxy far, far away. Yes. Oh, yeah, it was big. It was big. Good morning. Good morning. Surprised you didn't go to the mall theater. Well, it didn't open at the mall theater. That's why. Wherever it had been, that's where I was going to be, but it didn't open there. I think eventually on a re-release it did come there. But yeah, I didn't go to the mall theater. Being a mall rat, I get it. But if the movie wasn't there, I can tell you movies I saw at the mall theater. I can tell you I saw Rocky 3 there. I can tell you I saw Raiders of the Lost Ark there. It's a thing. The only movie I've seen more than Star Wars was Raiders of the Lost Ark. Speaking of Raiders of the Lost Ark, you know what's funny about that is that was another movie that I got to see more than one time in rapid succession in the theater, again, due to my parents. I don't know if Brad remembers this or not, but my buddy Brad Kirkland and I Mom always made sure I went to the movies. And I would usually call somebody and ask them, some friend from school, and ask them if they could go with me. And Mom would always take me and a friend to the movies. That was just, I think Mom always liked the movies, and she couldn't really afford to go when she was younger. And so she didn't want me to not be able to go to the movies. So I went to the movies a lot. And plus, I think it got me out of the house, and she could clean the house and do stuff like that too. But Raiders of the Lost Ark was a big deal to me because after Star Wars, I was a big George Lucas freak. And after Close Encounters, I was a big Steven Spielberg freak. And so Spielberg and Lucas are teaming up, and it's like, holy cow, this is going to be it. And we went, and nothing could prepare you for what Raiders was either. I mean, honest to goodness, nothing could compare you for what Raiders was. But my mom actually went into the theater with us, which was unusual. She usually dropped us off at the theater and then came back and got us. But for whatever reason, for Raiders, she went into the theater and sat a couple of rows behind us. And so we could still cut up a little bit. And at the end of it, she was taking us home. We dropped Brad off, and we're on our way home. And she said, you know what? I'm going to bring your dad back next week to see this. And of course, I sneaked in. Can I go with you? Because she thought, my dad would like this movie, and I think he did. I hope he did, because it's a wonderful film that's 45 years old this year. Believe it or not. Dad took us to see Star Wars 5 or 6 times at Linear Twin. Said, "Oh man, I wish." I mean, I wound up getting to see it a lot on re-release, because in that first release I got to see it twice, which was amazing. But when it would come back, it's Mom, Star Wars is back. And so, when it would come back, it would, you'd make the argument that it just got here. It's here. 11:30, standing by. You're supposed to save your Star Wars story for a podcast. I was going to get to, well, that's not over yet. We can still do that. Was Star Wars shown at the theater on Altama at the Piggly Wiggly? I seem to remember a long line stretching around the parking lot. It made it there, but it didn't start there. But what I will say is, when Empire Strikes Back came out, that started at Altama. When Return of the Jedi debuted, that was at Altama. And those had very long lines and big crowds and everything. Return of the Jedi started on a Wednesday, so that was kind of odd. That was one of those things that, like, when we were planning this thing, and I'm telling my mom how I'm going to not go to school, or I'm going to get out of school early to go see Return of the Jedi, because the first show was like at 1:00. It was like 1 and 4 and 7. And my mom was like, "You're not kidding. You're not missing school for that. What are you talking about? You're not getting out of school to go see a movie? What are you, crazy?" And I found out I was not actually going to see the movie at 1:00, because I was like, "Mom, it's the first show in town. How could I not be there for the first show in town?" And so we actually had to wait till the 4:00 show and see it. And boy, I was just dying, because there were kids coming out of the theater who had seen this movie before me, and I just was, no one was more deserving to see this movie first than I was. And these people didn't deserve it. Who are they? What is their place in society that they get to watch a Star Wars movie before I do? I was not happy about that at all. A lady just burst onto the scene. All right. So yeah, they did Empire, and Empire was rowdy, because the first showings of Empire, for whatever reason, I don't know why they did this, but the first showings of Empire were on Saturday. Not a normal movie day. I mean, Friday's your main movie day. Wednesday's kind of your secondary movie day, but they started showing them on Saturday. It was Saturday in June. It was like the day after school got out for the year. Yeah, so I could see huge lines for that. And I remember being at the first show of that. It was 11:00 on Saturday morning, and it was rowdy. People throwing stuff at the screen and everything. Everybody was handed a free Boris Vallejo Empire Strikes Back poster. Boris, by the way, just recently retired, as I understand it, due to health concerns, but a legendary artist. So yeah, the first Star Wars film did show there, but it didn't debut there in town. But the other two in that trilogy did, and I would very much imagine you saw that. There was a record store, Island Dog. Yeah, I thought that building had a record store, and I don't know if that was at some point Sunshine Records or what that is. I don't know what Sunshine Records is. I don't know. Good morning. You were 120. Do you get to keep? Of course you get to keep the same number. Of course you do. Yes, you get to keep the same one. Found a Rocket Easy sales flyer and an album cover recently. That's very cool. Yes, the record store was next door to Island Dog. See, I thought that was the case in that building. Still missing. Well, today is your lucky day. Today is your lucky day, because we have not given out our 3 for the day. You now have a number, and that number is 181. How about that? I guess seeing Jaws 6 times over a 6-week period is a bit excessive. Yeah, it really was. Really. The UNESCO board is wanting to know if your storage unit holds a mission report from December 16th, 1991. If so, you'll advance into further designation procedures. My storage unit may. I'll have to take a look. I can tell you December 16th, 1995. I've definitely got a mission report on that one. Let's see. Star Wars and Purple Rain at Linear Theater. There you go. I saw Return of the Jedi at Altama. Yeah, that's where it showed up first. And I was there at the 4:00 show on that Wednesday, May 25th. Was not there at the 1:00 show. But I will say this, because I like to creep the magazine racks, and there was a Jiffy store at the entrance to our neighborhood. And I went there one day, took my bike down there, and was looking at the magazine, which is what I did. Always the first thing I did when I went in the store, check the magazine racks out, and then you check the candy out. And they had the Marvel Super Special. This was a Saturday before the movie came out. They had the Marvel Super Special Return of the Jedi, which was the comic book adaptation, which was the story of the film. And so I bought it and made a deal with the Roach that we would not, because I told him about it and he went and got one. And we, I said, I'll tell you where it is, but you got to promise me we're not going to read this until the movie's out. And then I came outside and he was sitting in his driveway reading it. I went, you broke your promise. He said, I'm sorry, I couldn't help it. So we both read it. So we knew the story before we went in, and we knew it before those kids that got to see it at 1:00. That's what I'm going to say. See, I bet the hate listeners are wondering when the college stories are going to start. Oh, just wait. Should be stopping by picking up my tickets for Spider-Man today for tomorrow night's show. Yeah, I haven't decided when I'm going to see it for the first time, Spider-Man. We did buy tickets last night for Saturday evening or Saturday afternoon, because that's when Mrs. Ryfan's going to be able to see it. But I'm probably going to go sometime during the day tomorrow, because I really don't want to have to wait that many days to see Spider-Man. Saw Star Wars Age 4 in Griffin. Both me and my twin brother fell asleep before the end. What? Shame on you. That was the best part at the end. Dad said he saw it opening 7 times. The first re-release, we stood in line for hours to see it and were rewarded with actors dressed as the main characters, putting on a cool little show live to introduce it. When you say the first re-release, I'm assuming you're referring to the 97 re-release, which was not the first re-release. It was released several times before. 1980, it was released in 82. It was released in 80. Was released in 79. There was an 85 re-release as well, I believe. And then it kind of went into hiding in the theaters until 97. Been in more movies this year than I have been in a long time. Well, there's a lot more exciting going on. And I'll tell you something else. It's funny because a couple of years ago, one of the, we've been talking about kind of the fallout and the after effects of COVID. And one of the supposed fallout of COVID was going to be that the theaters were dead. Theaters are over. Theaters, and they're never going to happen again. That's it. Done. Toast. And they're really having a good year this year. But the deal is, and I've said this for a long time, make movies a lot of people want to see, and people will go to the theater and see them. And also, don't give them the sense that they can wait 5 seconds and see it on streaming. And they finally figured that one out. Because what happens is you spend $200 million on this giant movie, and then people don't go see it because they know that in 30 days it's going to be in streaming, and they'll see it fine then. And so you have to promise an exclusive window where you can only see it in the theaters, and then all of a sudden people will go to the theater and see it. It's just that simple. Saw Star Wars VHS in my house. So did I, among other places. Most popular part of the Brunswick News is the movie and TV list. I loved the movie listings in the Brunswick News. I loved it, especially, Thursday, the night before all the movies would come out, and they'd have the bigger ads, and then Friday they'd have the gigantic ads, and then Saturday they'd have a big ad. I love that stuff. Your number is 181. 181. Saw Return of the Jedi at the mall. I wish they could have saved Lanier Theater. It was a middle school institution. I do love it. Papa John's. Yeah, from Papa John's downtown. I went there a couple of times. I was not a regular Papa John's guy. Kelly Parr owned Island Records there at some point with the cleaners beside it. Oh, okay, back in the day. Comment was only seeing the movie at the theater one time. Whoa, no. Maybe the only person never seen Star Wars sequel. Like, wait, Miranda. When you say you've never seen Star, do you mean like Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi? Or are you talking about like these ones that came out in the last decade? If you didn't see, wow. Now we got to have some conversations. That's all I'm saying. We got to have a talk. Your mom refused to check you out of school to teach you paces. Well, she also, my parents very much stressed the importance of going to school and making sure that you were at school. Even though I hated school. We've talked about that yesterday. Hated school, but it was very important to them. It's funny when they do those little internet memes and they go, have you ever, give yourself 1 point if you've ever done blah, blah, blah. And there's always one of the selections is always, have you ever skipped school? And I never get a point for that because I never skipped school. Even when I was a senior in high school and they had senior skip day, I never skipped school. I just didn't buy it, didn't believe in it. Took 6 different girls to, I just like watching them jump and the guy's head popped out of the boat with his eyeball hanging out. Obviously not talking about Star Wars, he's talking about Jaws there. So yeah, there probably was a reason there. Won the bicycle one year from that Jiffy's. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. It was a late night showing Star Wars at Lanier. Went with my cousin, and we had left the bars on St. Simon's to go see it. My cousin killed that experience because he was not a sci-fi guy and would drunkenly and loudly question how any of that could happen during the movie. I would say your cousin probably deserved a good punch. Have a bunch of DVDs and Blu-rays I want to purge. Does that video movie store on 341 buy? They do sell. I don't know if they buy. I don't think they buy, but they do sell. So let's see. Homer says, have you seen Hail Mary? And request a number. Homer, you are 182. Just that simple. I think we still have one more slot that we can give away a thing. But have you seen him? Yes, I did. I went and saw Hail Mary. I read the book first and saw the movie, and I thought they were both quality. I liked them both. The movie departs from the book a little here and there, but in the overall, it's a good adaptation, and I like both the book and the movie. And I would recommend both of them, to tell you the truth. I've never seen any Star Wars movies. Glenn Lamar, Class of 82. Glenn Lamar Moore, Class of 82. Brunswick Comprehensive High School. Can't believe it. Can't believe it. Oh my goodness. Hey, let's do some other things really quickly. Because I got some meetings today. I got to get out of here. And you know what? There's a picture that I didn't post that I'm going to try and post while we're doing this, because there is a thing somebody asked me about the other day, and I really believe that it's important to do this. And I may not be able to get it done today, sadly, because I got to find it. Oh, there it is. There it is. Yes. Yes. Let's save all of those and we'll upload all of those pictures. What are the pictures that I'm trying to save and upload? I will get to that in just a second. First, though, let me point this out because I was looking at my email this morning, and this is a new design from the 9 Line folks. And the 9 Line folks, they're right in our backyard. They're local people and good people. And they have a new design, of course, September 11th this year, the 25th anniversary of the attack on the World Trade Centers and the towers of the World Trade Center. And I thought this was just a stunning, beautiful design. And I said, you know what? I got to share this with everybody. So you go to 9 Line Apparel and you can get this, pre-order it, because I don't know that it's available, but it will be very shortly. You'll have it in time for September 11th. We'll just say that. So I just wanted to kind of share that with you really quickly. This is the weirdest picture. Gordon Jackson took this. Rick Jackson was in Camden yesterday in St. Mary's and visiting with folks. And now this guy on the right looks kind of mad. And then Rick looks kind of, firm. Could be mad, could be not mad, could be just conversing, don't know. The guy on the right looks mad. And then there's a guy pointing. On the left, there's a guy pointing, which almost indicates this guy's mad too. I don't know why this was the picture that was picked for this article. I don't get this. I suspect I will see Gordon sooner rather than later, and I'm going to have to ask him about this because I just don't know why. You got this guy looking mad on the right. You got somebody pointing, which kind of indicates the guy is mad. And then you got Rick just kind of, he's not smiling. In fact, if you look at the right hand, that's almost like fist balling up over here. What is going on here? And the thing is, these guys may be old buddies, and this guy may be the biggest supporter in the world, but you don't know because that's the picture that got shown. Just weird. Absolutely weird. All right, what are we doing here? Let's see. I wanted to pick up on some of the other comments. Let's see. Oh, Glenn. Yeah, that's where we left off. Hate school. Loved talking about college days. Well, because I'll tell you why I talk about the college days. They're instructive. They teach you things. Rick, good to be heard. I will tell you that. Can you tell me who invented the tin can and string telephone? No, I cannot tell you that. Hail Mary, great audio book. I got to take your word for that. You know what? My wife actually listened to it. Mrs. Rifen actually listened to it. And I think she enjoyed it. I read the Kindle version. Definitely going to binge watch on a rainy day. Yes, please. And if you need to borrow a copy, you let me know, because I've got VHS, DVD, Blu-ray, 4K, whatever you need. Bought yours this morning. You talking about Spider-Man tickets? Oh, Pam. All right, let's do it. Let's get Pam. Pam gets the last number for today. We try to limit to 3 a day here. Okay. You are 183, Pam. 183. Let's see, Scott. Just Joe's blanket pardon means the protection of the Fifth Amendment against self-incrimination will not be available to Fauci or Hunter either, should that eventuality eventuate. Yeah, well, that's a fair point. Have you ever had people around you at the theater that ruin a movie for? Absolutely, I have. Absolutely. I'll tell you, probably the worst theater going experience we ever had was The Sixth Sense. Because it was just kids getting up, running around and jumping up and down and screaming and hollering. And we went and complained to the manager, because the manager was a buddy of mine. And I thought, well, he'll take care of this. And so I complained to him, and he sent somebody in there to monitor the situation. And the person went and stood in the back and watched everybody going crazy and yelling and screaming and running around. And I mean, it was it was like Romper Room. And they were just like, well, Romper Room's more disciplined than what this was. So I got up again and I complained again. I said, look, we can't hear the movie. We can't see much because they're running around. So he gave Mrs. Rifen and me the little receivers and headphones that you give to the hard of hearing. Here, put those on. And that was the solution. The solution wasn't make the kids stop. The solution was just put the headphones on, you'll be fine. And that drove me nuts. Yeah, so I've had those experiences. Believe me, I've had those experiences. Brunswick Housing Authority's public housing assessment score drops. Taylor Cooper piece. Top manager of the Brunswick Housing Authority told the board a disfavorable assessment of the authority by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development was old, but could affect its funding. You see, apparently they based it on 2023. Chris Baisden, who's the leader there, I think it was either just coming on board, hadn't done a lot of the changes that they've made at the Brunswick Housing Authority. I was glad for Taylor including this paragraph here on the right, though, where it says HUD's public housing assessment system is effectively a metric for measuring performance. The department scores housing authorities on a scale of 100 in different categories, which have differing impacts on the total. It earned an overall score of 37 out of 100 for the year 2023. And the reason I'm glad he did that was because when you say Brunswick Housing Authority's public housing assessment score drops, it makes it sound like there's not a lot of need. In which case, funding should be affected. HUD grades housing authorities in 3 categories: physical, financial, and management. So, yeah, they're going to lose some funding there. And then the question there is that little tiny homes place on Altama, the hand-in-hand thing, that's being funded by HUD stuff anyway. Vouchers. Is that going to be affected by this whole thing? That I do not know. Brunswick going to host the Worldwide Igbo Festival, West African Igbo heritage and culture. Will also honor a woman who's worked decades to share and preserve local African-American history. That is going on tomorrow. No, not tomorrow. Sorry, Friday and Saturday. I will tell you one thing. Like, not having the regular gig has really messed up my sense of what day of the week it is. It really has. Next week, I will be starting the position with the county. I will still be doing this, but I'll start the position with the county. And I got to tell you, it's going to be good for me to be back in that schedule. I've been trying to keep certain routines. One reason I get up in the morning is one reason I come in here and do this. I try to sit and write every day a little bit because, and I'm doing a lot of email returning and a lot of phone call returning, but, I do all that to stay in the routine. I'm trying to write so I've started a Substack, which you can find Scott Rifen at Substack if you look. And it's free right now. At some point, I may have a paid version of the Substack, but for right now, it's just free. I'm just trying to write every week and post. I'm trying to get something written every single week. So I don't have my piece finished for this week. What day did I first receive this? I got this July 24th. Today's the 29th. So I want to share something with you really quickly. this guy is Gaston. He's not a rapper, even though he's dressed like one there. This is Gaston as well. Gaston has been at the shelter, and I assume this is the Glenn County Animal Shelter. Gaston has been there for 623 days. Gaston has been, yes, he's been in animal control for I don't know how he hasn't fallen victim to the every so often they got to clear some space, that kind of thing. But Gaston would really like a home. I don't know what we can do for Gaston, but he has been in the shelter for 623 days. Gaston is cute. Gaston seems to be very fun-loving, as you can see. Gaston enjoys a good snack. Gaston could probably be a good buddy of yours. I imagine Gaston would not mind waking you up in the morning and getting your day going. 623 days in that shelter. I know this is a bit of an ask because we got a lot of people watching, and I know that everybody's got lives, they've got things going on, they're busy, but if there's one of you out there who could do something for Gaston, I will tell you that, they do the best they can at animal control. And I guess I'm going to have to call it animal services soon because I'm going to be working with them soon. But for now, I'm going to keep calling it animal control. They do the best they can. They really do. And they work hard and they care. That's one, I hate, the criticism I hate when people say, and they'll level it when they get mad at animal control. They don't care. They care. They care a lot. But there's only so much they can do, but the shelters aren't great for these animals. Again, they're the best they can make them, but they're not ideal. And I can tell you, like, we were talking about this just the other day, Mrs. Reifin and I, Sweetie, when we first saw her in the shelter, and remember, it was always my vow. I always wanted dogs. And it's so funny that people, like, when I refused to equate dogs and humans as the same thing, for some reason, people just started insisting I hated dogs. I don't love dogs. Have always loved dogs. I got a hateful, really hateful. When I first got started on radio, it was one of the first nasty letters I got from somebody. It was clear you never had the love of a dog when you were a child. And I did. I had a great dog. Her name was Lady also. And, but I always wanted a dog, but I always told Mrs. Reifin when the day came that we got a dog, we were going to go to the pound. We were going to go to, the shelter, whatever you want to call it this week. Far as I was always concerned, it was the pound. And we were going to get one out of there. And my thought was always, because those dogs are on death row. And I want to take a dog off of death row. And so when Mrs. Reifin, after 23 years of wedded bliss, finally went, you know what? Yes, a dog is a good thing for our household. And I was, yes. We went down there, and Sweetie, we found sitting in the kennel, and she wouldn't come. Like a lot of them will come and meet you. She wouldn't come and meet you. She would just sit there and stare at you. And her ears, and you know how they get when they get real meek or timid or something, their ears will go back. Sometimes when they're happy, their ears go back. But, her ears were so far back, we didn't actually think she had ears. We thought she just like had nubs on her head where she just had holes and something had happened to her ear. We did not think she had ears. Now, it turns out she's got these giant floppy ears. They're adorable. But she was in such a state there that the ears were just tucked back, and that was, and she wouldn't come meet you. And what spoke to me was there was a big sign on her kennel that said, "Housebroken." And I went, that one, let's take a look at that one. And we took her out into the little play area, and she just played like crazy. And we got her into that play area, and it was just us and a ball and everything. She was great. And then she ran off to the other side of the play area where there was dirt, and she dug a hole and then laid down on top of the dirt. And I looked over at Mrs. Rifen, and Mrs. Rifen was beaming like a jack-o'-lantern. And I went, no, not that one. Really? That one? The one we didn't think had any ears? And she's like, yep. I said, you sure that's the one? She goes, yep. I said, okay. All right. And she was right. That was the one. But you don't know what that amount of time in those shelters does to these dogs. And it's good that Gaston has been resilient. But I mean, really, if there's anybody can do something, if you can make some room in your house for Gaston. Gaston is a cutie. Would love it if he could. Absolutely love it if he could. All right. Let's see. Where are we going here? Oh, let's see. I was in attendance at that event. If I recall, the guy on the right was joking around to this Rob Riggle style character, the finger pointing most likely to open sea. I have no idea what you're talking about now at that point. Can I have 200? You could someday, maybe. Where is Gaston? I think he's at Glenn County Animal Services. I believe. I could be wrong on that. I probably should check that first. Let's see. Gaston. Yeah, he is at Glenn County Animal Services. Been there since November 13th, 2024. Gaston. Gaston would love to go home with you. I promise you. Yeah, Gaston is at Glenn County. He's been there for many, 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 many days. Oh, thank you very much. Yes, that's the one that's here right now. Love dogs, but they are not people and not children. Exactly, and that's what we're talking about here. Rescue, maybe. Looks like a pit mix, possibly no. The thing is, a lot of those guys down there are pit mixes. You almost can't escape that. But if they're good dogs, they're good dogs. And Gaston looks like a pretty good dog. He's a cutie. My problem is I wouldn't mind taking on another one. That one on the floor behind me just does not want any more in the house. And she's pretty adamant about that. So, we kind of have to live by her rules on that front. Let's take a look at a couple of other things here, because I did tell you I can't stay forever this morning. Official shares social media tips after local arrest. I thought this was interesting. And this happened in Campbell County. This happened in Metter. I got to tell you, we expanded the program out to Savannah in 2022. And one of the things that I learned after we expanded the program out to Savannah in 2022 is Metter is a mess. Because I don't know if you're like me or not, but when I was a kid, Metter was Michael Guido. Metter was beautiful gardens. Metter was, lovely yards. It was this kind old man sitting in all these plants, telling you nice things about God. And, I thought that to me, that was Metter. And then we expand the program out to Savannah, and all of a sudden I found out, no, Metter, meth, people getting killed. It really kind of shattered some illusions here. So this one from Evan Smoke, WSAV. As students prepare to return to school, one local law enforcement agency is providing tips on how to avoid taking what you think is a joke too far online. 45-year-old Jason Timothy Balliard was arrested on a terroristic threats charge on July the 10th. After making a social media post under a false name, he threatened to engage in mass shootings, specifically mentioned schools in Metter. That's a social media tip, by the way, which I love. Let's give a social media tip. The tip is don't threaten to kill people online. That seems fairly obvious on the face of it, but some people apparently have to be taught that. And that's kind of sad. But apparently very, 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 very true. Savannah firefighters responded to Woodley Road fire. That is out. It is taken care of, but it was late last night. I'll be honest with you, I did for one big reason. They found a body by the rail tracks and in front of Little Lots Apartments. I don't know if that's like next to a Big Lot store. I don't know. But I just wanted to tell you how great this photo was. I mean, don't get me wrong. Statesboro death by the train tracks, terrible thing, but good grief, what a great picture. I mean, look at that. That's like artistic and stuff. All right, let's take a look at the comments really quickly. Let's see. Animals are almost people smarter than some. I love it. And look, don't get me wrong. Again, I love them to death, but moralistically, there's a certain place where I put humans, and then there's a certain place where I put everything else. Let's see. I have your. Oh, am I doing trivia? No, we did trivia yesterday. Trivia's Tuesday. Sorry about that. Dogs are so special. God gave them his name backwards. Oh, that's nice. Wild. Don't see dogs as people, but puppets are people. Now, hang on a second. I don't. That's not a moralistic view. That's just a mistake. Craziest person I ever met came from Metter. Oh, there you go. He was talking about the Rick Jackson event. Wait, I don't remember what that's for now. Let me look back through here and see if I can figure out which one you're talking about on the Rick Jackson event. But that picture was very, very odd. And again, I just don't know that that's the picture I would have used for that event in the newspaper. But that's just me. I do my thing. I found this morning. People who do not get it. Genuinely, I do not like the concept of capitalism. I don't want to work my job every day. I want to make art. I want to be in my garden. I want to feel something. All right, let me go ahead and shatter one illusion for you really quickly. It won't be your garden. That's the point of not having capitalism. Nothing is yours if you don't have capitalism. It's someone else's. It's the community's. You don't have a garden. I liked this line, but yeah, Wisconsin's apparently got a Democratic Socialist of America candidate that they're high on. As Alice Cooper taught Wayne Garth and the rest of us, Milwaukee is the only major American city to have elected 3 socialist mayors. There was a time nearly a century ago when the Socialist Party of America was a major force in the state's politics. So it's not surprising that today's Democratic Socialists of America would look at America's Dairyland as one of their best shots at attaining real power at the state level. The DSA's favorite candidate, 37-year-old State Representative Francesca Hong, will have to win a crowded primary first. But know that, we've been talking about the Democratic Socialists of America kind of trying to make their push to take over the Democrat Party, which we all knew they were there. And apparently their big push, their big focus is going to be trying to take the governorship in Wisconsin. So pay attention to that. I thought this was interesting. Zoran Mamdani's judicial panel, there's literally a judicial panel we're talking about New York City, and we're talking about lawyers, okay? Okay. Let's give you some context here. We're talking about New York City, and we're talking about attorneys. The judicial panel appears to be missing something. 18-member advisory committee on judges, no Jews, no Jewish people on the 18-person New York City legal advisory panel. I will say this. I'm not a fan of affirmative action, but some things strain credulity, and that is certainly one of them. Oh, yes. All right. Don't forget to like and subscribe again as we go through here. I'm going to wrap it up before too long. We'll take some more comments in just a little bit. I also want to remind you of this. This was sent to me September 19th, the day before my birthday. There'll be the Swinging for Hope golf tournament, Brantley County Wildfire. We can bring hope and rebuild lives. They're going to raise money to restore homes, rebuild lives, restore hope, rebuild Brantley. A lot of sponsors out there. 4-man scramble format. Sponsorships are available. Those are the phone numbers right there. 100% of the funds will stay in Brantley to help families rebuild. 912-228-2434, 912-228-2434, 912-424-1984. And you get golf, you get the cart, you get range balls to hit, warm up, and you get lunch. All of that at Lost Plantation. City Club at Lost Plantation. That's hard to read that way. But that's where it's going to be. Again, September 19th is a nice Saturday, nice fall Saturday. You may have to miss a little bit of football that Saturday, but, it's a good cause. And we'll remind you of that a few more times as time goes on. But I also want to say this, since we're talking about Brantley County fires. Have you noticed that there are people rebuilding their homes in those spots in Brantley County, that people are making good efforts to rebuild those homes and that their land is not being confiscated and data centers being built on that land? Because we had a lot of nuts that were getting a lot of people worked up. And the thing that was aggravating me, the thing that was really frustrating me about all of that was there were literally people who had lost everything, and you're getting them stirred up, tell them that the county is burning it on purpose, or the data center people are burning it on purpose so they can confiscate it all and build data centers. And of course, again, go figure, the data center guys were wrong. The data center conspiracy guys were incorrect. Did we play the clip of the guy that was confused between socialism and socialized? To me, that clip, I don't remember that one. What number is Reverend Al? Reverend Al, he defies numbers. He doesn't do numbers. I was trying to describe the appearance of the man on the right. I just recall him doing a loud, is that loud joking voice? All right, hang on. Now I'm trying to find that comment. This. Okay. Gotcha. I was in attendance at that event. If I recall, the guy on the right was joking around and did this loud type Rob Riggle style character. The pointing finger was most likely pointing to open seating. Yes. And that's why I think this is a terrible picture because you can easily get a totally different impression from looking at that picture. I mean, this looks like a fight about to happen, doesn't it? And I can't think that that's the only shot Gordon took of the whole thing. But look at that. Read the description there and then look at the picture. You wouldn't know that. You have to have context on that, and there is no context on it, sadly. All right, let me pull that one down and go back to the chats here. Take a look at the comments that are coming in. Let's see. I got to get down to the bottom here. Reminded me of the Rob Riggle doing POW in Step Brother. I've not seen Step Brother. I got to take your word for that. Brantley County homes being rebuilt are really just blow-up homes like the Allies used before D-Day. Oh, gotcha. So the data centers are all fooling people. No, we know that's not true. I am for the data centers, but the Effingham one has been done all sneakily to avoid public panic, and that's what makes the public panic. I read Jessica's piece on that. And I don't know. And look, I have all the respect in the world for, I love what Jessica Szilagyi does. But this is also a thing that does involve real estate transactions and that kind of thing. And a lot of that stuff is executive session type stuff they can't really say out loud. So I don't know if they did it sneakily or if they did it, or if they were doing it by the law and it looked sneaky, or if they were genuinely doing it to have people not panic people. I don't know, but obviously there is the panic now, which is just again, crazy, absolute crazy. More Jackson hackery. So wait, the poor, supposedly backwards people of Brantley County can rebuild their houses faster than the supposedly good people of Palisades, California. Do remember that Brantley County is the most Republican county in the entire United States. So that means that there is much less regulation, much less red tape. Data centers are fooling people. They're actually Decepticons. Well, maybe. Statesboro is like a two-sided coin. College is very beautiful. Other places in the city show a less savory side of things. I disagree with sneaky. I've learned that so many in Camden that simply don't follow the meetings of the city county until it hits Facebook. Well, I think, but I would say this: Jessica follows these things. She's not. One word I would never apply to Jessica Szilagyi is ignorant. I don't think she is ignorant. And where she caught them, I think, was they said that the final touches got put on the deal like the night before they made the announcement, and apparently they had been talking about the deal several months before. But again, I think it may be hair splitting. I'm not going to condemn them, and I'm not going to poo-poo the story either, because again, I think the source is one. I think Jessica has and has earned a great deal of credibility. But yeah, I'm going to reserve judgment on that, as I tend to do on some of these things. Brantley County Fire is simply a case of a poorly handled crisis. First offer we had on our land was withdrawn because the bank would not loan money for land purchase in that area. Well, there you go. There you go. That says a lot right there. All right. Let's see. Do I have anything else? Oh, you know what I didn't get to yet, and I should have, so I'm going to now. Oh, this is terrible stuff. This is just I'm getting an echo. I'm getting feedback. That's not good. Oh, I know why. Okay, hang on. There we go. That should be gone now. Yep, there it is. Gone. Okay. But we do have to go to a couple of these because first off, Mamdani has announced their the government run grocery stores they're going to have out there. He has made a big announcement about his grocery stores. They're going to have a 30% discount on essential goods.
Run Mamdani revealing that his city-owned grocery stores will offer select items at a discount.
We're talking about a 30% discount across essential goods that will be the same at every single one of those 5 city-run grocery stores. And what we are also talking about is city-run grocery stores which will not be selling cigarettes or alcohol or lottery tickets or hot foods.
But critics point out that the $70 million plan could buy more than 1 million Costco memberships for New Yorkers. Fox Business host Cheryl Casoni here with the latest.
Could buy more than 1 million Costco memberships. So in other words, they're wasting a lot of money to do this. And of course, price controls. Government instituting price controls, it never goes wrong. I mean, except every single time it's ever been tried. But other than that, government price controls never go wrong. All right. I'm going to wrap it up now because, again, I got to get out of here. I got to have meetings. I got some meetings. I can't show up at a meeting in this, unfortunately. I wish I could, but I can't. And so I got to go get ready for the meetings that I've got to go to this morning. And I'm getting a haircut today, so which is necessary. And that happened because Mrs. Rifen has been on me about it. So it's going to happen. But I thought today, since we're going back and we're reliving our COVID year or years, and Anthony Fauci is on the hot seat today, I thought I would give you this little reminder of the insanity of that era as a closer.
Dr. Fauci, give us vaccines. Help all the people who have been quarantined. We'll wear our masks and we'll have to stay distant. We'll wash our hands and we'll be more resistant. Fauci, yes? Promise us, please. We'll have a cure that can fight off this disease. Restrictions will lift with some ease. Dr. Fauci, don't forget me.
And remember, these are the same people who tell you that MAGA is a cult. Just remember, these are the same guys that MAGA is a cult. By the way, the guy who did that was wearing a mask the entire time, just so you know. All right, got to get out of here. You guys have a great, great time. See you tomorrow. I will be right here bright and early, 7 o'clock. Hope to see you there as well. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, spread the word. I know I'm supposed to be wrapping this up. I do this to myself all the time. Yesterday. Now, the blade fell from iHeart a month and 5 days ago. Yesterday, 3 different of my Savannah listeners sent me an email going, hey, I noticed you're not on the air. And a lot of that's because people were out of town. And again, summer is just that. And a lot of people just, again, have assumed I'm on vacation. But what a great vacation this would have been so far. But anyway, there are people who don't know that the program is no longer on the radio at this point. So spread the word. let people know where we are. I'll do the same. But yeah, I was kind of surprised that over a month into this, I got 3 different emails from 3 different Savannaians going, hey, where's the show? It's here, and it'll be here, and it'll stay here. Again, when I'm able to, we will announce new radio partners in Brunswick and Savannah if everything holds up during the process of getting extracted from the iHeart deal. But it's just not time yet. But we'll be back. So we need people to know that we're coming back. And I have to count on you to do that. So please subscribe. It's easy to do. Like the video. Hit the bell for notifications, as the kids say on YouTube. And we are on YouTube, so it's right for the kids to say it. And on that note, I will let you go and get out of here. Have fun. Have a great, great Wednesday. And we will see you tomorrow.